Hello, Mark here, and the theme of today's lecture is Defense Annihilation. This is a very common tactical maneuver and is encountered in open positions quite regularly. As a general rule of thumb, white and black will attack each other at the same time. However, instead of just exchanging pieces, a player may gain a material advantage by finding the correct tactical maneuver. This maneuver is also used to fork or mate your opponent's king. In this lecture, I will demonstrate the motif of destroying the defense on a chessboard, as well as show you how to see the right move in similar situations. Just remember, the nature of the position dictates the possible tactical strikes. So let's jump in and start with the basics. In this chess puzzle, the goal is to gain a material advantage over your opponent. White to move. If you wish, you can pause this video and try find the winning move. Keep in mind that the motive of this lecture is defense annihilation. Okay, so the correct answer would be rook takes on e5. Then black would respond rook takes on e5, knight to f7 check, forking the king and the queen, also known as the royal fork. Should black recapture on e5 with the pawn, this still doesn't help. Black could of course move the queen away, but then they just lose the knight for free. And you know what they say, a chocolate is twice as sweet if it's for free. Did you find the winning move? If not, don't worry. I'll explain how you could have come up with this move. So, how to see this move? Let's start from the end. The first move to notice is of course the possible fork on f7. However, f7 is controlled by the black knight on e5. Two options come to mind: chase the defense away or destroy it. In this case, it is possible to take the knight with our rook, and should black to decide to recapture, we are more than happy to sacrifice the rook for Her Majesty the Queen. In this section, there are two more puzzles on the topic of defense annihilation, and I'll show you how to solve them as well as how to come up with the winning move. What is interesting about this position is that black also have a winning move. For example, if white is not careful and plays a move like rook to c1, capturing the open file, then black would continue queen takes on g5, and after queen takes on g5, knight goes to f3 check, forking the king and the queen. As a result, black is a knight up. How to find this move? The same logic must be applied. Black has to first see that knight on f3 forks the king and queen and rook, also known as the family fork. So, the end goal of black's next maneuver should be to put their knight on f3 for the royal fork. The only defender of f3 is the white knight on g5, so he needs to be destroyed. If black queen takes on g5, then white queen takes on g5, then knight can go on f3 check. As a result, black is a knight up. Rook c1 seems like a pretty logical move. However, this allows black to gain the initiative. Okay, let's move on to a more complicated example of defense annihilation. Let's first analyze this position from white's point of view. White to move. Please pause the video and see if you can find the winning move. The winning move is bishop takes on e5. If queen takes on b5, then white plays an intermediate move, bishop takes on g7 check, and after king takes on g7, knight takes on b5. And white is a knight up. Okay, let us go back. If black takes the white bishop on e5, then rook takes knight on f8 check, and after rook takes rook, queen takes queen on d7. Did you find this move? It's okay if you didn't, you're here to learn, so I will now show you the thought process involved in finding this move. Notice that both the black and white queens are attacking each other. Also, both black knights are defending the black queen. So hypothetically speaking, if both knights were captured, the black queen would be defenseless. Now white should figure out whether the defenses can be destroyed. The white bishop on g3 can capture the knight on e5, and the white rook on f1 can capture the knight on f8. And as a bonus, rook takes knight on f8 with check. So first, white captures the knight on e5. And even if black decides to move their queen or exchange queens, then they will only lose the knight. However, even this slight material advantage will allow white to win the game. In this position, black also has a winning move. Again, I encourage you to pause this video and find the winning move. Try applying a similar thought process as we did for white in this position. Did you find the winning move? Well done. I knew you could. The winning move for black is knight to f3 check. White has three options. Capture the black knight with their knight on d4, with rook on f1, or to move the king. If white captures with knight, then queen takes queen on b5. If white captures with rook, then bishop takes on d4 check, destroying the only defender of the white queen, and after king moves, queen takes queen on b5. So the path of least resistance for white is to move the king to g2. Now, if the black knight captures on d4 or moves to d2, forking the two white rooks, then, as in the previous example, white will take the knight on f8 check, and after rook takes rook, queen will take the queen, and white is winning. So the correct move for black in this position would be to first take the white queen, and after knight takes on b5, knight goes to d2, forking the two white rooks. In this variation, black has a small material advantage, just a rook against a knight. However, this should be sufficient to win the game. So, how to figure this out? Just as before, both queens are attacking each other. And notice that the only defender of the white queen is the knight on d4. Hello, Mark here again, and to conclude this lesson on defense annihilation, let's look at a significantly harder position. White to move. Pause this video and see if you can find the winning move. The winning move is knight to e8 check. If rook takes on e8, then queen takes on f7 check. And after king to h8, rook takes on e8 checkmate. So, if rook doesn't capture the knight, then the king needs to move. h8 is an absolutely redundant move, as white will take the rook on f8 with check, and the attack will continue. So the black king has to go to either h7 or g8. Either way, white would play knight to f6 check. The black king is forced to move back to g7, and then white captures the last protector of the black king, the rook on f8 check. And after king takes queen, rook to e8 check, then king goes back to g7, the only possible move, and then rook goes to g8 checkmate. What an attack. Did you figure out this solution? Well done if you did. This position is much harder to figure out. However, white should notice that the opponent's king only has one piece defending him. Therefore, it has to be destroyed, even by sacrificing our queen. But before we actually go ahead and give our queen away, let's make sure the knight is more active. We can do that by positioning him in the center of the battlefield. And the beauty is that we do not lose initiative because we can use forcing moves to get him there. As you're probably used to by now, in this position, black also has a winning move. I'll give you 2 seconds to find it. Are you ready? Pawn to g5 attacking the white. No, just kidding. Rook takes on f1 check. And after king takes on f1, queen to b1 check. And after king to f2, queen to e1 checkmate. Although you might not see grandmasters of chess in these positions, this setup is quite logical and happens when both players are too focused on attacking each other's kings. I hope you've gained a better understanding on how to look for those winning moves. And I definitely know you've learned the value of destroying the defender even through sacrifice for the greater gain. Thanks for joining me today, and be sure to check out the next lecture in this section where I will show you how chess grandmasters use this motif of defense annihilation. The game we are going to look at today was played between Boris Spassky and Bent Larsen. In this game, Spassky had white pieces, and he started with e4, c6, d4, d5, knight to c3. In this game, Larsen chose to play the Caro-Kann defense against the king's pawn opening. Okay, so d takes on e4, knight takes on e4, bishop to f5, knight to g3, bishop to g6, knight to f3, knight to d7, bishop to d3, queen to a5. Now, some of you will probably wonder why this move when it seems to be really weak. The queen is checking the white king, however, all white has to do is defend, at the same time attacking the queen with their bishop, forcing the queen to move again. However, they developed a piece through this. The general idea is that in this scenario, black considers the black squared bishop on d2 to be weak, like to be in a weak position. Therefore, this is kind of deliberate, like they want to force the black squared bishop to move to d2. Let's not go into this too deep and keep going with the game. Spassky played bishop to d2. Larsen went queen to c7. Bishop takes on g6. H takes on g6. Queen to e2. e6. Knight to e4. Black castles queenside. g3 with the idea to move the black squared bishop. c5. It seems to me that Larsen made a poor choice in saying that he chose to advance his pawn to c5 in order to attack the white pawn structure in the center. However, I believe that a much stronger direction in this game for black would be to develop his pieces and start with a knight from d to f6 and etc. Anyway, after c5, bishop to f4 attacking the queen, queen to c6, white castles. And this is very logical. As you can see, the H file is semi-opened. Then there's just an extra threat
After castle and queen side, black plays c4, knight to c3, knight to h6, ignoring the threat of pawn to d5, and obviously Spassky plays d5, e takes on d5, rook takes on d5, bishop to c5, rook to d1, and then Larsson plays f6. I believe the idea behind this move was to free up the square for knight to jump to f7, also control the square on e5, and the long-term plan would probably be to bring the rooks to the center and exchange some pieces, and then the position would be probably more favorable for black, if so then just slightly. However, what Larsson failed to see is that Spassky is set up for a tactical strike. If you wish, you may pause the video and try find the winning move. Did you find it? Rook to d6, attacking the queen. After bishop takes on d6, rook to d6, and then queen to c5, and after rook to d5, Larsson resigned. Why so? The white queen is attacking the pawn on c4. The white knight is one move away from checkmate on a7. And the black queen really doesn't have that many places to go. She can move to b4, b6, or c6, and also the squares e7 and f8. However, that will just expose the black king even more. So the three legitimate moves that still allow the black queen to get involved in the defense of the black king, these three squares right here. So let's look at all three variations. What if queen goes to c6? Then knight to b5. Threat is knight takes on a7, checkmate. What if queen goes to b4? Then rook to b5, queen to f8, again stepping away from the defense of the black king. And now we can just involve our queen in the attack. Queen takes on c4, and black is losing in this position as well. And last, let's say queen goes to b6, then queen takes on c4 check, and if queen goes to c6, then knight to b5, and white is winning. Okay, and now let's go back to this move, rook to d6. In this position, we are destroying the defender of a7. Crucial pawn, and the defender is the black squared bishop. Even though we're giving up a slight material advantage, a bishop for a rook, we know that we'll eventually be able to gain that back or even more, considering that we have that many pieces aiming at the black king. I hope you guys enjoyed the analysis of this chess game, and it showed you how defense annihilation is used by pro chess